Hey guys, so before I start this video, I just want to put this little disclaimer in because obviously I'm not in Ecuador right now. I am going to play the footage I have of Ecuador first, and then about midway through I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to talk at you guys. And I hate that I have to do that, but it's just the reality of what ended up happening. So just forewarning, this video footage from Ecuador is going to be interrupted in the middle. Continue watching, and then afterwards you will find out what happened. Hello from Ecuador. I'm on a beach right now. It's very windy. 1 second. I've been here for about a week and I definitely haven't been filming anything. I'm not gonna lie, the first couple places where I just was not inspired to film. I was kind of in a weird headspace. So I landed in Guayaquil, which is kind of one of the two main airports. And I stayed about 2 nights, I think, at a hostel, and it was fine. The first night was just, I got in at midnight, I needed a place to crash, so I just crashed there. I woke up and they had free breakfast, and then at breakfast I met a girl who I kind of wandered around the city with, and it was really nice, and it was really hot, and it was just kind of a big city, which is just not my vibe. I'm a lot more, like, happy when I'm in nature, or, like, on a beach. It was fine. I kind of had my day in Guayaquil. I spent one more night there, and then I thought I would be happier going to the town of Montañita, which I was a little happier, but it's also kind of a party town, and I was feeling a little homesick already, just kind of getting back into the groove of being like a solo traveler. I kind of spent it at my hostel and like alone on the beach. My hostel had kind of a like 4-level balcony thing, so I would go sit on the roof and just like work all day. I was editing a video and then just catching up on some journaling I had to do. Anyway, so Montañita was not really my scene, and I just needed a quieter town, and I finally found this little town called Puerto Lopez, which I think I'm in love. It's going to be very difficult to leave this town. My hostel is very nice and quiet and tranquil. The town is like sweet. I've made some friends with some local people and like just chatted with them, and like the beach is like long and sprawling and there's like no one on it ever. And then it's really close to this beach, which is Los Frailes. So I finally got here today and I was like, I'm gonna film. I've had my like not doing anything mode for a while now, and now I'm going to be productive and try to get out and see things and do stuff. So this morning I got here, and if you come here, do not make the same mistake I did. I got up at like 6 in the morning and I was like, I'm gonna get there before it's hot out and it's like the sun and like so I got up at 6 and I took a tuk-tuk to the bus station, then I took a bus to the entrance of the park. The park doesn't open till 8, so I was sitting there at around 7, like, great. So I sat at the entrance of the park for an hour, just waiting for it to open. There's practically no one here, and I would say come on a weekday. Yeah, so it's like very empty, it's beautiful. Stick around, guys. Okay, guys, this is the place where I have to stop the video and kind of fill you in on the actual details of what was happening while I was there and where my brain was at. I don't want to paint a picture of like the perfect travel life for you guys. I want to keep it real. I have gone on amazing trips before where I have a great deal of fun and everything's fine. A lot of times that's what happens. But this trip in particular, the day that I landed, I just ended up in this homesick, really sad, don't know what to do with myself, don't know why I'm here kind of mood. And sometimes I can get over that. A lot of times. Usually the first couple days are a little weird when you start out traveling. And I was there indefinitely. I didn't have a return ticket. I didn't have a plan. So the first couple days, usually it takes me a while to get into the groove of solo traveling, staying at hostels, missing home, being in other people's space at a hostel and like living in bunk beds and out of a suitcase and having to force yourself to be sociable and go out and explore and do things. So that was pretty normal, and I was thinking maybe I would get over it. But as time went on, I couldn't get out of this like negative mind space that I was in. I was really terribly homesick. Here's the thing. I think I was using this trip to Ecuador to kind of keep pushing off dealing with things that were going on at home. I was having a rough time with my dad, a rough time with my mom, and a rough time dealing with my dependence on the boy, which I'm still trying to balance. All of that was going on in my head even while I was in Ecuador, so I didn't quite get to escape from it. I try to use travel to get away from my problems sometimes, and I always forget that my mental state is gonna just follow me. It's inside my head. It's not like I just leave it behind. I just couldn't kick it. There were times when I would force myself to go out to the beach and like go write and go do things, and I would feel better for a little bit, but I just then would go back and I'd just sink back into that sort of depression, and it was really hard. That day at Los Frailes was like one of the highlights. Actually, that day led to the next series of days. I actually ended up meeting a guy on that beach. He walked up to me and started talking to me and invited me to go with him and his friend to Canoa, which was like this little beach town. I actually ended up doing that because I was like, I need to get out of this misery mood that I'm in and hang out with people. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll figure out a bus to meet them there. That way I don't have to drive with them. I can kind of get to know them maybe there, like hang out a little bit and see how I feel about them. And so I took a like 7-hour bus to Canoa and met them in this little town, and we actually ended up hitting it off really well. Him and his friend were really great, and so I ended up going with them in their car to Quilotoa, and those couple of days were really good. I just really needed other people, and so I was super happy. I also was pretty sick. When we arrived in Quilotoa, I actually fainted. I think we got there around like 10 or 11 at night, and the altitude really got to me. So when I got out of the car with my bag, I got into the lodge and I actually fainted. So that was traumatic. And then hiking around there was beautiful, but the altitude really got to me. So I was not feeling great, but I felt so much better being there with those two, just because I had somebody to talk to and somebody to bounce ideas off of and pull me out of my own brain. That's the footage that I have there. That was absolutely the highlight of the trip. And then they were headed to Quito to head to Colombia. They went to the airport and headed to Colombia, and they left me in a town outside of Quilotoa, and I stayed at a hostel for a night. It was a super cute hostel, and the town was really cute, but as soon as they left, I just started sinking back into kind of a depressed state. On top of having a really bad mental state, I also got sick. A fever. I was super homesick. I was like shaky and super weak. I could barely get down the stairs to go get water. I'm so dehydrated, and I felt just miserably awful, and so I just ended up deciding I needed to go home. So I booked a ticket for that midnight. I think I spent maybe $150 to get to Ecuador. This flight was like $650 for that night. That was really rough, but I just mentally, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm spiraling. I am sick. I'm so unhappy. And I felt like a miserable failure, you know, because you set out with these expectations of doing something where you're gonna go and you're gonna have this adventure and you're gonna have this life experience. And I tried for 2 weeks to push through it and get through it and be fine, and I just couldn't. The added pressure of like, oh, I told everybody on YouTube and everybody on Instagram that I was going to Ecuador and I was gonna have this trip, and that just wasn't the reality. It just wasn't what ended up happening. I don't want to try to make some epic adventure video for you guys if that's not what happened. I get so many comments saying, oh, you're so brave, or oh, you're so, like, I could never do that, or like, I'd be scared to be alone, or what if What if I fail? What if I can't do it? What if I go and I'm homesick? I guess I'm just making this video because I want you to know that it isn't always easy, and I'm scared almost every time that I go travel. You get homesick and you either push through it or you don't, and that's okay. At least you tried, and sometimes it's just not the right time. I'm going on a tangent, I'm just talking now, but I guess I just want you all to know that it's not always some big shiny adventure like so many people show on YouTube or on Instagram. So, sorry for the somber travel video that I'm giving you guys today, but I do want to say that at least this way I got to wrap that up, and now I have moved into this little apartment that is above my parents' house. They Airbnb it out, so it's got its own entrance and things, but I have moved in here with Maverick, and I have so many projects that I'm working on, and sewing and like building things and redecorating. So I'm actually in such a good headspace, and I'm really excited to do all this stuff. This video I've been really dreading making and editing. I'm really excited to move forward. I just appreciate you guys accepting that I'm not always going to create content that is audience pleasing. I'm just living my life, and I want it to be as real as possible. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the next videos. I think I'm going to have a lot more fun filming and editing them than I did with this one, but what are you gonna do? Alright, see you later.